Good morning. It is time that we call our meeting to order. We appreciate your being here with us today. We would ask that you make certain that your cell phones are silenced, and those of you who are watching online, if you would do the same. We are glad to have people who join us online. We just need you to, thank you, make sure that your cell phones are silenced too. We do have people joining us. Some of our members are joining us online. Dr. Elam, if you would state your location, please.
Yes, I'm in Springboat Steams, Colorado.
Well, we're all jealous.
It's cool here.
Dr. Barrett, your location, please.
All right, so Beach Mountain.
Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay, good. Thank you. The remainder of our board is here in the building with us. We are at the Mississippi School Board Association building. For those of you who may not know, the building in downtown Jackson at Central High School is undergoing some renovations. So the department had to be very creative in finding locations for everyone to work and for us to meet, and we thank the School Board Association for allowing us to use their boardroom and their facilities for our meetings, and so far it's worked out very well, and so we appreciate their graciousness. Our pledge today will be led by Mrs. Werner and our invocation by Mr. Miller. So if you would stand with us, please.
Get oath on me with a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to come together, be with us and guide us in our decisions today to make sure we make the right decisions for everyone involved in the education system in the state of Mississippi. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Our first item for action is approval of the minutes of the July 21st, 2022 board meeting. You have received these minutes. Do I have a motion to approve them as presented?
I make a motion to approve the
Okay.
minutes as presented.
All right.
I'll second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you. The next item is the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If so, this is the time to do it. The consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda you'd like to pull out? Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion that we approve the consent, approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. And
Second.
Mr. Jacobs will take the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We don't have a recognition for this month, so we'll move right into our superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Altman, members of the board, and our audience and guests here today. Good morning. We have had a very busy and productive month supporting districts as they welcome back more than 400,000 students in classrooms across our great state. I want you to know that, as Ms. Altman referenced earlier, work continues on the repair of Central High School. The interior projects are on schedule. We've had a slight delay in our roofing, as one could expect with the rain, but we are confident that we'll be able to regain and recover that time. This month, I've had several meetings with state elected officials, including Governor Tate Reeves, House Speaker Philip Gunn, our state auditor, Shad White, the Department of Safety Commissioner, Sean Tyndall, and various members of the Jackson delegation. These meetings provided an opportunity to build strong partnerships and also to talk about how we are moving forward to continue to advance student achievement in our state and to reach the 6 strategic goals of the State Board of Education. This month, I had the privilege to meet with several groups of educators. I met with a cohort of new T Plus fellows at their kickoff meeting last Saturday here in Jackson. And this program enables educators from across the state to learn how education policies are made, and it provides training and opportunities then to influence policy decisions that ultimately manifest themselves in the classroom. And I can't tell you just how impressive it was to see these 25 teachers from across our state volunteer their time on a Saturday to engage in professional growth. That was exciting and it was inspiring. We welcomed teachers back to school last week with a short video message from me, and it was shared with through various other organizations, and we are very grateful to those partner organizations that shared that message. Members of the executive leadership team and I traveled to Hattiesburg for the very first regional superintendent's meeting of this school term, and special thanks to our state board member, Matt Miller, for joining us. There were 26 superintendents in attendance, and they were very appreciative, sir, of you taking your time to join them. That was a highlight of the event. We are looking forward to the next 5 regional meetings that will be on the road and blanketing the state in September. I'm really excited to tell you that this is a special anniversary for some hallmark legislation in our state. This is the 10th anniversary of our literacy coaching support for teachers. Dr. Smith is here, and she helped lead that work, and in fact, so is Dr. Nathan Oakley. We have a guest here today, and he helped deploy those first coaches out in the field, and it's just really hard to believe that that was 10 years ago. Lots of good things have happened since then, and I think you would agree. Our MDE literacy coaches are a key part of our statewide support for supporting K-3 teachers and students. And this year, we'll have 45 literacy coaches blanketing the state in 39 districts and 76 schools. I also had an opportunity to attend a virtual town hall meeting hosted by the Mississippi chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Now, this was a really important meeting because it allowed us to spotlight and really explain to local providers the new telehealth initiative. That work is going extremely well. There's a lot of enthusiasm across the state because we know healthy children, that's one of the foundational pieces for them to attain the achievement that we desire them to be able to attain. I had my first appearance on the Paul Gallo Show and Super Talk Radio. I enjoyed talking to him about the start of a new school year. Some other media highlights, just two, that I want to draw to your attention is that MDE Mississippi educational efforts continue to be recognized on the national front. We had an article in Time magazine that spotlighted Mississippi's effective literacy work, and we were also recognized in Digital Promise for the work of OTSS, Mr. Craman, Melissa Banks around the Mississippi Connects initiative. So it's always a good day when the great work is recognized not only on the home front, but beyond our borders. So that's really great. Before I conclude my remarks this morning, I do have a recognition. I would like to recognize a very special employee, and that is our State Special Education Director, Robin Lemonis. Robin is retiring after a 30-year career in education and nearly 10 years with the Mississippi Department of Education. Robin, would you stand so they'll know who you are? I want to tell you, I'd like to share just a few highlights of Robin's time with us. Robin has served as the state director here since 2019, and previously she led various programs including student intervention services, literacy, early childhood, response to intervention, and dyslexia. In fact, Robin, I believe you started some of those programs here, didn't you? She is a strong supporter of students with dyslexia. She's been instrumental in formulating policies and expanding resources to parents, to teachers, to administrators to ensure the success of all of our students. Robin Lemonis is a champion for students. Throughout her career, she has advanced the education profession through her leadership roles, not only here in our state, but on the national level. Most importantly, Robin has touched the lives of countless students and educators, and I want to share with you 3 comments from her peers. Rosemary Lampley in Louisville, the Louisville Municipal School District, has stated, "I'm so grateful to Robin for the countless sacrifices she has made to ensure that our state, our district, and school systems recognize and include our very, very special population of students." Dr. Marla Davis, her peer here at the department, has said the quality of resources, technical support, and guidance that Robin has provided has been a missing piece that we needed to ensure that our students with disabilities are never forgotten and that our heroes who teach them each and every day always have a seat at the table. Robin never wavered in her belief that all means all, and she made sure that every department in this agency knew that. And we would agree with that, right? And then finally, Vicki Doty, who is the Special Education Director in Madison County Schools, said, "Robin has touched so many lives, not just the children. It truly is a ripple effect that goes on forever. So there's no way to measure the impact that she has made over the course of her career. Her impact has been tremendous and will go on indefinitely." And I don't think I could agree any more than with Ms. Doty and her remarks. Robin, we appreciate your sacrifice, your unselfish service to the boys and girls, teachers and leaders, and your colleagues in this room while you're at the department. And we can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And don't go too far. Don't go too far, because we know you still have so much to give. But thanks for just being you, Robin. And Ms. Altman, that concludes my remarks.
Good, thank you. The majority of my month, this last month, has been spent, as you can well know by the number of emails you've gotten, trying to organize dates and times for interviews, working with the consultant and Dr. Gavin and Sonia Amos in getting that done and getting a schedule going. Dr. Benton and I have met together, and she's given me an update, and we've talked about the work that she's doing, and she has really hit the ground running and carrying on the work, and we appreciate that. We're excited today. We have our new student representative, Charlie Fruget, is here with us. Charlie, stand so everybody can see you and recognize you. Charlie is from Oxford High School, and he'll be giving his report in a minute, but he went through a very rigorous application process and interview process, and he emerged as our representative. He is a junior, so we will have Charlie for 2 years, and we look forward to working with you. And then, of course, you'll be hearing from Micah Hill, that you all know. Micah is our senior representative from Laurel High School, and they both have had a busy summer. And we want to hear from them in just a minute, but we have a couple of other things that we need to cover. Because in a minute you will hear that Dr. Bass is leaving our board, and we're sad about that because she's been a great board member. But in order to cover some of her responsibilities, we've had to do a little juggling. And so she was chairman of the School Performance and Accountability Subcommittee. So Dr. McGehee was on that committee, so I've asked him to move into the chairmanship, and we will be doing a little more juggling on the committees. But right now, that's where we are. Dr. McGehee very graciously agreed to take on that subcommittee. Dr. Bass has taken a new job, And so she is leaving our board, and we're sad to see her go. She's been a good board member, and so you can't leave without a resolution. So, so I'm going to read this resolution, then I'll ask you to come up because it's kind of lengthy, and you'll be very impressed by her work. Whereas Dr. Angela S. Bass was appointed by Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves to represent the state's first Supreme Court district on the State Board of Education in 2020, and whereas Dr. Bass's service on the Board of Education helped guide the board's strategic plan and prioritize the development of effective teachers and leaders in school and district improvement, she faithfully served in this role for 2 years. And whereas Dr. Bass effectively chaired the School of Performance and Accountability Subcommittee, served as a member of the Educator Quality Subcommittee, was appointed to serve on the National Association of School Boards of Education Early Literacy Work Group, and chaired the Ad Hoc Screening Committee for the review, rating, and selection of our student board representatives. And whereas Dr. Bass is a University of Mississippi graduate earning a PhD in educational leadership, a Harvard Graduate School of Education graduate earning an EDM in education policy, and a Spelman College graduate earning a Bachelor of Art in Comparative Women's Studies and Women's Health. And whereas Dr. Bass has designed school-wide policies to aid in cultivating a positive student culture, served as a Horn Lake High School math teacher and a Tunica Middle School math teacher, leading students to achieve more than 2 years of growth, provided guidance and oversight as the Deputy Director of Policy for Mississippi First, Inc., responsible for planning, design, development, and implementation of research and analysis projects, as well as conducted primary research and statistical analysis to inform policy areas of interest, created a fully operational startup from concept to an annual budget of $1 million as Executive Director of the Mississippi Early Learning Alliance, where she also built a diverse governing board and facilitated the development of the mission, vision, and values of the organization with statewide stakeholders. And whereas Dr. Bass has devoted her career to being an educator, a child advocate, researcher, diversity, equity, and inclusion champion, community leader, and education and policy expert, and whereas Dr. Bass has been instrumental and essential member of the Mississippi State Board of Education, giving careful consideration and offering pertinent expertise in the development and review of policies and initiatives that support educators and lead to positive student outcomes in the classroom and future careers. Whereas Dr. Bass will continue her educational leadership service as the Mississippi Regional Executive Director for Republic Schools, a network of public charter schools based in Jackson, Mississippi and Nashville, Tennessee, where she will oversee all Mississippi Republic schools and lead the implementation of the network's strategic plan while maintaining relationships with advocacy partners, community and political leaders. And therefore be it resolved that on this, the 18th day of August, 2022, the Mississippi State Board of Education recognizes Dr. Angela S. Bass for her contributions to the Mississippi State Board of Education and the advancement of public education in the state of Mississippi. Dr. Bass came to our board meetings always well prepared. She asked probing and pertinent questions. She always turned our heads when she came in because she had lots of new hairdos. And so we had to make sure that we knew that they were Dr. Bass. So we will go forward. We appreciate what you've done. You will get a permanent copy of this, and it will go into your and it will be a permanent copy, a part of our records for the state Board of Education, and we just wish you the best in your new job, and we're sad to see you go. We will be anxious to see the work that you do with Republic, because we know you're going to have them on their toes.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, Micah, you ready to give your report? Your chair will roll.
I had to share with Miss Warner, so.
I don't know what happened to the sound of this.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about a review over what we learned at the Nasby Student Engagement Collaborative. So a brief overview of what NASB's mission is. NASB strives for equity and excellence in public education for students of all races, genders, and circumstances. For the Student Engagement Collaborative, our facilitators were Miss Selena Perrotet and Miss Megan Blanco. And for our student representatives, or the students that are helping us, we have Soliana Mesfin, and we have from Kentucky, and we have Grace On De La Cruz from Guam. And then there are also 9 student representatives with us. You can see us all on the Zoom call. I look a little tired, y'all. It was a rough week, but but I just want to show you guys where we have all of our students from. We see Maine, New Jersey, Iowa, Hawaii, DC, Connecticut, Kentucky, and of course Mississippi. So I feel really proud to be able to represent. One thing I really like about NASB is that it doesn't just talk about students that are in the country, but also out of the country as well. So we're able to see what other problems people out of the country like Guam students are facing. And I wanted to show you guys a video that they presented to us. I had to cut it down due to time restraints, but show a video of something that we watched and what students outside of the country are working on to better students' education.
Hafaday. My name is Grace On De La Cruz, and I'm the chairwoman of the IBOGS, otherwise known as the Island-Wide Board of Governing Students Mental Health Training.
Greetings, my name is Isabella Paco, and I am the vice chairwoman. Both of us are students of the Guam Education Board.
Guam is a small island, 30 miles of land and a population of 160,000. But unfortunately, Guam still has the highest rates in suicides. And the issue wasn't just suicides, but rather what led to these suicides: mental health.
These were issues that only increased during the pandemic, but have been there ever since. What was being done about them?
After some time, schools began to open up, but student mental health was still at an all-time low. It came to the point where the students themselves began asking, where are the resources? Where can I get help? So what did we do? We made a decision.
We decided to help pave the way for these students to have full access to local mental health resources, to be part of the solution, not only for this current issue,
but also for the future students who will go through the same system.
We began planning a mental health training with lead district school psychologist, Ms. Nadine Cepeda, along with her team that consists of other school psychologists as well as interns from both University of Guam and University of Hawaii at Manoa.
On January 11, 2022, we put out a survey asking middle and high school students to share their thoughts on mental health issues we thought affected them the most. We received 2,267 responses total.
When we asked about academic burnout, 24.5 responded that they are unsure if they are affected, 29.6 said they weren't affected, and 46% responded that they are indeed affected by academic fatigue. When we asked students if they felt so overwhelmed with their thoughts and emotions to the point where they felt they were falling behind in life, 17.3 said they aren't sure, 25.1 said they haven't, while 57.6 said they have. We started this mental health training on Guam not only because we wanted to provide resources, not only because we know how hard it is, but it's also because we want our peers to know they are not alone. We hope by the end of this that instead of suicide, that they will look at what we shared with them and call.
Look at the resources and know that they can rely on them.
That's our goal, and we know it's your goal too. For the now,
For the future.
Talked about, mental health, the suicide rates, depression, and the impact COVID-19 had on these students. And then we were also instructed to answer these 4 questions, which is on the next slide. What school health problem did Guam students address? What evidence did they use to demonstrate the problem exists? What action did student representatives recommend to the Guam Board of Education? And how did students use data to inform the recommendation? And then we would come together in a group and we basically say the school health problem that Guam students showed was that there was mental health and the depression that COVID-19 had on these students. And the evidence that it showed was that they had statistics from students that they, asked, and then they partnered up with also mental health professionals and how they're able to get these statistics. And they recommended to the Guam Board of Education that there are free mental health resources. And so we say all this for them. Well, they tell us this to say that we're also able to create our own problem statement and also something that we're able to help and present to the board and get statistics from students. To be honest, the process is a little confusing, but I know that as the weeks progress and as we're able to get on these meetings, we're able to learn a little more about policy and how we're able to impact Mississippi students in a way that we're able to hear their feedback. And I'm looking forward to being able to bring a problem statement and something that me and Charlie are able to work on as the weeks progress.
Good, thank you. You have really had some wonderful experiences this last year, and we appreciate your sharing all those with us. We look forward to what you all are going to be able to do with this National Board of Education initiative. So I think what's happening in our state with it is very timely. So you'll have good information to give back in feedback. Charlie?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you, before you get into your report, would you share with the group, now, he doesn't know this, so I've caught him by surprise, a little bit about what you did this summer? Because I
Sure.
know you had a really good summer.
Yes, ma'am. So I started off the summer by going to the Hobie Youth Leadership Seminar on Millsap's campus. We focused a lot on personal leadership and leadership as a group. It was a 3-day seminar, and I got to hear a lot of great speakers. I played a lot of tennis for the month of June, and I got to watch the Rebs win it all, hotty-toddy. Then we took a quick vacation in Kiowa Island, South Carolina, and then I was at a 2-week class on Vanderbilt campus in Nashville, Tennessee. We focused on educational policy. It was a public policy class. My professor focused on the guidance counselor shortage, so I got to hear a lot about that. And then, of course, we came back, and school started all too soon, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, good. You had a busy summer.
Yes, ma'am.
That Hugh O'Brien Leadership Seminar Initiative is really a good
Yes, ma'am.
program. Yeah, I'm glad you were in it. Okay, now you can give your real report.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so today I'm excited to tell you all about Oxford's Portrait Graduate. So board members, you all ought to have this little flyer. So this flyer, believe it or not, hangs in nearly every classroom in the Oxford School District. And trust me, there are a lot of them. So students are constantly reminded of the skills they need to succeed in the 21st century. So what is the portrait? This document lists the 8 skills deemed necessary to succeed in our community and in our state for years to come. In 2018, 45 community leaders met to identify the most crucial skills needed to succeed. These leaders range from school administrators and students to economic developers and artists. Following these discussions, the portrait was adopted. As much as I would love to talk at length about all 8 skills, I'd hate to put you all to sleep, so I picked my favorite 3: effective communication, critical thinking, and personal responsibility. Effective communication, in my opinion, is arguably the most important and most marketable skill one can possess. The ability to speak clearly or introduce yourself is crucial in every sector of life. In the Oxford School District, graduates will be able to convey information in a meaningful way to achieve common goals with others. Our graduates will have the skills necessary to give presentations in the business world. They'll have the skills necessary to shake a hand and look someone in the eye. They'll have the skills necessary to hold meaningful conversations with their peers. This skill isn't only useful in the years after schooling, though. Through teaching effective communication, Oxford hopes to decrease confrontations between students and to increase class camaraderie. There's no reason to fight if we can sort things out with words, right? It's a pretty novel idea. If our graduates communicate effectively, they'll succeed in life after high school. Now, critical thinking. Students who think critically go on to be lifelong learners. If our students can make observations, analyze what they see, and understand new things, they're ready for life after schooling. At Oxford, we focus on always learning new information. The ability to think critically goes a long way in understanding this new information. We aren't teaching our students what to think, but rather how to think. Our graduates will be able to analyze and evaluate new information as a guide to understanding and action. If our graduates think critically, they're ready for life after high school. Now, personal responsibility. Personal responsibility starts at a young age. In our elementary schools, students are taught to take ownership of their own actions. They'll show that they're invested in their own education, and this will translate to highly motivated middle and high school students. Oxford kids will understand that their work ethic will dictate their success. Through an emphasis on personal responsibility, we hope to avoid the problem of apathetic students. In my own experience, I've seen many students think that they don't have the capacity to succeed, so why should they try at all? If we can tackle this issue early, through stressing ownership of one's own education starting in pre-K, this entire problem will disappear. Our graduates will maintain ownership of their own actions and will be held accountable. If our graduates have personal responsibility, they will succeed in life after high school. So I'm sure all of you would agree that these skills are important, but my first question would be, what is Oxford doing to teach these skills? So I was fortunate enough to sit on the Portrait of a Graduate committee this past spring. This committee consisted of various teachers, students, and administrators, and we had to answer the big question, how? So our curriculum team, along with the help of our admin, developed a system to teach the portrait. Over various grade levels, our students will focus on different skills and will submit pieces of evidence to their advisor. This will start in pre-K. Our pre-K kids will spend the entire year focusing on effective communication. In kindergarten, they'll focus on both effective communication and personal responsibility. As a student moves through the various grade levels, more skills will be covered each year, and students will begin submitting evidence in the 4th grade. So now you might be wondering what evidence is. I had the same question. For instance, I might write a paper in my U.S. history class on the plight of various cultural or ethnic groups in the 1800s. I would submit this to my advisor as evidence that I am culturally aware. As another example, I might give a speech in my personal leadership class, or I might give a speech today. This would be evidence that I'm an effective communicator. There are also a couple implicit benefits to this system that I love. As you all know, when it's time to apply for college, counselors write many, many recommendation letters. This gets difficult for the counselors, as sometimes the ratio of student-counselor can be upwards of 300 to 1. It's impossible to personally know every student and to write solid recommendation letters. However, under this new system, our counselors could look through a student's portfolio going back to the 4th grade, and they could see any of the student groups they'd been involved in. They could see the service projects that they partook in. And therefore, they could write a personal recommendation letter without actually knowing the student. Another added benefit of this system is another point of contact for our parents. Some parents simply aren't as connected in the district. They aren't best friends with the administrators. They don't have the personal sales of the counselors. They might not even know their child's teachers. When these parents have questions and concerns, they typically have no one to turn to. Under the Portrait of a Graduate system, the student's POG advisor automatically becomes a point of contact for parents. This teacher will know the student personally, and they'll be available to address concerns or questions of parents. In summary, we're working in Oxford to not only further our students' knowledge, but also their interpersonal skills. There are 8 skills in the portrait. I only, of course, covered 3 today: effective communication, critical thinking, and personal responsibility. We're striving towards teaching our graduates marketable skills. In my opinion, these soft skills will make the difference. I look forward to seeing the results of this system, as I'm sure you all do too. Thank you.
Good job. Now you see why these 2 young people are sitting at the table. But we appreciate that, and it'll be interesting for you to follow up with us on those. And so, and I know you and Michael do a great job with this committee you're working on too, so we appreciate your report. We'll move now to our subcommittee reports, the academic pre-K. Mr. East.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Altman. We were able to meet this week. I want to highlight a couple of things, 3 things actually. Textbook depository is going to make some changes which will help school districts out in the old days of paper and so on and so forth, and having a different system for reporting those textbook purchases and so on and so forth. The pre-K work across the state has been fantastic, working with those collaboratives and moving forward. Dr. Benton mentioned literacy coaches and so on and so forth earlier as well. For me, the most exciting piece was the report on where this team is with our work on history and social studies curriculum moving forward, the hours that they have put in, the end product, which we should see in the next couple of months, which breaks down the curriculum piece, the input piece, originally what came out of the APA process, and how those have been addressed, which will be a document that will be able to be seen on the webpage a couple, 3 months from now when we get to approving that piece. This team has put together a powerful document to ensure us as a school board, superintendents, teachers, and most importantly, our community of the depth and breadth of the information that they've gone through to make sure we get this right, so to speak. So the other things were good, but that little piece of the puzzle, I think, is something that will be very beneficial to us in the future, and I think we'll all look forward to seeing it. I think we had a one-page snapshot that by itself impressed me, so I want to compliment the work of that team especially.
Good, thank you. Dr. McGehee, Workforce Development.
Yes, we, Mary Warner and Mr. East and I met with Wendy Clemens and her team today to listen to the update on the workforce development and also the implementation of House Bill 1388. Very important because of CTE areas looking for that expert citizenship. I'm very proud that we're implementing this. It will help us across the state have some people in our CTE areas with expert citizenship going forward. So it's very informative, and I thank Wendy and her team for that.
Okay, and move on into school performance and accountability.
School performance and accountability, we had some spirited discussions, all right, but it was all positive. I think that Dr. Vanderford will be able to give us a report here shortly about some very good news about where we are and also probably where we plan to go. So I'm excited to hear that and excited about the school's performances.
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, with that segue, Dr. Vanderford, if you want to come forward and give us our map results.
We do have some very exciting news this morning, but now Micah and Charlie are a very hard act to follow. So I really wanted to ask to be repositioned on the agenda. So what we have for you today is a brief summary of the document that you received in your backup material for the executive summary of the 2022 assessment results. We always begin with the vision and mission of the state board and letting you as well as the audience be aware of the goals that this presentation actually focuses on, and this is certainly around goal 1, all students are proficient and showing growth in all assessed areas, and goal 2, every student graduates from high school and ready for college and a career. So just to begin, we'll give you just a high-level overview of what is MAP. So as you know, MAP is the acronym for the Mississippi Academic Assessment Program, which measures students' knowledge, skills, and the academic growth from elementary to high school. Students' progress is measured through annual assessments in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math, and then in science, grades 5 and 8, and biology 1, and the end-of-course assessments in Algebra 1, Biology, English 2, and U.S. History. The MAP assessments are designed to inform parents about how well their students are progressing and to also provide teachers with the information they need in order to guide instruction. The assessments are administered online for all students. Students with disabilities and English learners are afforded the appropriate testing accommodations. All students were tested during the 2022 school year that were tested are included in this report. However, if we have retesters for the end-of-course assessments, they are not included in the data analysis. The MAP results are reported in two ways for ELA, science, U.S. history, and math. Each student receives a skill score, and they also receive a performance level between 1 and 5, with 1 being minimal, 2 basic, 3 pass, 4 proficient, and 5 advanced. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind you, because we have had some questions about whether or not these skill scores on the assessment or the performance levels changed during the 2021 school year, but they did not. So our performance levels and skill scores they remain consistent. So before we dive into the overview of the findings for the 2021 school year, I just want to emphasize that as we look at the data overall in the state aggregate, which is what your report summarizes for you, we have some very exciting news, despite the disruptions that occurred throughout the pandemic. However, when we dig deeper into each of the content areas and each of the grade levels, and we look at the percent of students that are performing proficient and advanced, and as well as the students that did not, we recognize that we still have a lot of work to do, and we want to use this data in order to inform our instruction and therefore improve student performance. So overall, the percentage of students that scored proficient and advanced in ELA reached an all-time high of 42.2%. And in science, it reached an all-time high of 55.9%. In math, we were just shy of the pre-pandemic rate of 47.4%, with the 22 results being 47.3%. As you all know, and we see that in the future slides when we display the trend data, that pre-pandemic, our student achievement had steadily increased from 2016 to 2019, with the students scoring proficient and advanced reaching an all-time high in 2019. And as we all know, the pandemic did create obstacles to teaching and learning throughout the 2021 school year, and that overall, when we looked at our 21 data last year, student achievement declined in Mississippi as well as across the nation. As previously mentioned, when we look at the science assessments, we exceeded our pre-pandemic levels and reached that all-time high, 55.9% proficient and advanced. Just as a reminder, the state administered a new U.S. history assessment during the 2021 school year, and at that time, the percent of students that scored proficient or advanced was 47.4%, and it increased to 69.3% in 2021. All right, the next few slides, we'll just highlight these because these are all just pulled directly from the executive summary that you received in your backup material. The first slide represents math and ELA overall proficiency for performance levels 4 and 5 at the state level results. So if you look there at mathematics and look at the 2019 there in the gold or yellowish color at 47.4%, you'll just see how we were just shy of reaching our pre-pandemic levels. And then as well as ELA, you'll see there that we reached the all-time high. So as well as look at the next slide, which has the science and U.S. history, you'll see the difference in the 2019 at 55.2% and then 55.9% in 2022. And then I had highlighted the U.S. history increases there on a previous slide. So the next sections of the report we'll take by content area. We'll begin with math, and all of the slides will be very similar for each of the content areas. So we'll begin with mathematics with some key findings. We showed increases in proficiency at all grade levels compared to the 2021 results. Algebra 1 had the highest increase of proficiency from 33.2% in 2021 to 64.9% in 2022. Just as a reminder here, we've taken a close look at this data and just think it's important to highlight that in Algebra 1 we had 19% less students taking the assessment in 2021-22 school year compared to the previous year. The mathematics content is within pre-pandemic rates for grades 3 through 8, and as I just mentioned, significantly above the pre-pandemic rates for Algebra 1. This next slide just gives you an overview from the 2019 school year forward. Just as a reminder, we did not assess at all in the 19-20 school year as a result of the pandemic, and then in 2021 we assessed, but we were not required per federal regulations to meet the participation rates. But each category, each level there, you'll see the percentage of students scoring at level 4 or higher, the percentage of students scoring at level 3 or higher, and then the percentage of students scoring level 2 and below. And then we've also provided you the total in counts of students that were tested each year. The next slide is the trend data that I told you that we would show you that 6-year trend by grade level. So the first slide is our proficiency rates by grade level for grades 3, 4, and 5 mathematics. And the following slide will be grades 6 through 8 mathematics and Algebra 1. And then we'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the top 10 districts for overall performance in mathematics content area. That's Clinton, Union County, Petal, Long Beach, Ocean Springs, Neshoba County, Forest County AHS, Union Public School District, Enterprise School District, and Madison County School District. Next, we'll move into the content area of English Language Arts. ELA showed increases in proficiency at all grade levels, again, as compared to 2021. Grade 3 had the highest increase in proficiency from 34.8% in 2021 to 46.4% in 2022. Overall, when you compare ELA data back to 2019, we had increases in proficiency rates at grades 5, 6, 8, and English 2. Meanwhile, grade 3 and 4 and 7 are within pre-pandemic proficiency rates. And here's our summary of ELA students performing at or above levels 4 and at or above levels 3, and then below 2, and our end counts there for the past 3 years of administration. The next slide is our statewide data broken down by grade levels in ELA for grades 3, 4, and 5. These bar charts look really nice, don't they? That's why we're excited. Grades 6 and 8 in English 2. And we'll highlight the top 10 districts overall in ELA. Ocean Springs, Union County, Madison County, Long Beach, Clinton, Petal, Enterprise, Choctaw County, Rankin County, and Harrison County. Now for science. In 2021-22, it was the third administration of the science assessments that are aligned to the Mississippi College and Career Readiness Standards. At that time, 5 performance levels that I mentioned earlier, 1 through 5, were established during the standard setting process. Science showed increases in proficiency at all grade levels compared to 2021. And overall, when we compared the data to 2019, science had increases in grade 5, as well as high school biology in the course. And the next slide for science is our 3-year summary of our percent of students performing at or above 4, at or above 3, 2 or below, and with our total in counts of students tested. And then with science, we have 3-year trend data compared to the 6 years provided for ELA and math, because as I mentioned, we administered the same science assessment for the 3 years in a row. So that's why you're only seeing a 3-year data set for grade 5, 8, and biology here. And to highlight our top 10 districts in science, we have Ocean Springs, Pass Christian, Long Beach, Union County, Petal, Poplarville, Jackson County, Biloxi, Neshoba County, and Madison County. And finally, for U.S. history, just as a reminder, I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, that U.S. history was a new assessment for the 2021 school year. We did conduct the standard setting following that assessment because the assessment was administered during the pandemic. We did validate those standards in 2022, and we did align that assessment at that time with the 5 performance levels. And because it was like science, it previously had 4 as well. So looking at the summary of our data, the chart with the percent of students that scored 4 above, 3 or above, or 2 or below, and our end counts are provided. And here, only for 2 years, because we only administered the new assessment twice. And then here is our graph, and just a reminder, new standards, new assessment, was administered during the pandemic. And then we also had, for a couple of years in play, the waivers of the high school end of course assessment. So when we administered U.S. history in 2021, there was a waiver in place, but there were no waivers for any of the high school end of course assessments related to graduation requirements in 2022. Students may have taken this assessment a little more serious in 2022. And finally, I highlight our top 10 districts in U.S. history: Richton, Calhoun County, Ocean Springs, Bay St. Louis, Long Beach, Hollandale, Lafayette County, Amory, New Albany, and Petal. At this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize some districts, first beginning with 3 districts that were in the overall top 10 for 2 subject areas. We have Clinton for math and ELA, Enterprise for math and ELA, and Neshoba County for math and science. We have 2 districts to recognize that were in the overall top 10 for 3 subject areas: Madison County for math, ELA, and science, and Union County for math, ELA, and science. And finally, we have 3 districts to celebrate overall top 10 in all 4 subject areas: Long Beach, Ocean Springs, and Petal. And before I close, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the team in student assessment, Dr. Sampsell. We have Libby Cook with us today, Mr. Allen Burrow with District and School Performance, and Deborah Donovan with OTSS, because without those individuals, that nice summary, executive summary that you have would not be possible. So a lot of hours, and then the cross work, collaborative work that we did with other teams, such as the leadership team and the communications department, in providing that information to districts was very, very helpful. So thanks to you all for your assistance in this project. Dr. Benton, at this time, do you have anything that you would like to add that I may not have touched on that we talked about in the subcommittee? Or
Well, Dr. Vanderford, I think you did a beautiful job presenting this positive message. And, you know, Dr. Vanderford, she acknowledged all the members of the team. There were lots of hands involved with pulling this report together. And this is a really positive report, and one that we're proud to share. I think it provides concrete evidence of the tremendous work that has taken place the past, really more than a year, the past 2 years, to narrow those gaps for students and recover from that disruption in learning. So it's a testament to the hard work of teachers and leaders and parents and community members and all coming together to improve outcomes for boys and girls across our state. And with that, it gives us hope, it gives us optimism, and to keep pressing the gas. Because as you looked at those numbers, you saw that we still have some students that are in that level 1 and 2. And this was in the aggregate, and we're going to use this as a challenge, as I said, to just keep pressing forward. And in our local districts, we are confident that our superintendents and principals and teachers will take this information and use that, drill down to the individual student level, and do what they do best, which is intervene right on time, just in time for boys and girls to continue to close that learning gap. So thank you for that report this morning. There may be questions, Ms. Altman?
And Dr.
I was going
Santor.
to ask if the board has any questions or comments about this.
I'd like to make a comment of congratulations from the state board to our teachers, our principals, our students, our superintendents, our school boards out there that have worked tirelessly over the last 36 months. This is an outstanding report, and I think it'd be appropriate for us to applaud for them right now.
Any other questions or comments? When I was going through the information, getting ready for the meeting, I just thought, when people are so resilient and when their backs are against the wall, and we've had a lot of angst over the last 3 years about how we were going to address the pandemic, how it was going to look coming out of the pandemic, and I think we see that once we kind of got back to normal, as Dr. McGee, he said, teachers and administrators and parents and everyone went right back to work and did what they could do to close the gap that we had during the time we were shut down. And they've done a tremendous job. Now, there's a lot of work yet to be done, and we don't overlook that, but at the same time, I think this is something to be celebrated. And I hope those people who may be listening online, superintendents or principals or teachers, whomever, will take full knowledge of how proud we are of the work that they're doing and of this report. And we appreciate you all and the work you've done in sending out the information you need to send out to people, to school districts, and the help that the department has provided. And then, of course, pulling all of this together. So in the midst of all this chaos you've been working under and trying to figure out who is housed where and finding each other. So we thank you for it, Dr. Vanderford. We appreciate it. Okay, our first item for action is a couple of contracts we have. Dr. Gavin, if you would come forward, please. The first one is the textbook depository.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Item.
We do have 2 contracts that we're bringing to the board for approval this morning, and the first one was mentioned by Mr. East this morning, and it is concerning the textbook depository to assist the school district. That's a no-cost grant contract to the state, but that will help our school districts.
Okay. And go ahead and take item 2, and we'll take them all.
Okay, and the second contract that we're bringing for approval is an employment agreement with Dr. Wilson, who serves as our interim superintendent for the Holmes County Consolidated School District. This is her upcoming school year contract.
I think everybody is familiar with that. Are there any questions on either of these contracts? Then I'd entertain a motion. We approve item 2A and 2B. We do have a motion. Do we have a second for that? Ms. Werner, who said second? Oh, Dr. Elam, I'm sorry, Dr. Elam. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item 3, we're bringing forth to the board 2 grants for approval. The first item is a grant for the World Class Teacher Program as outlined in our appropriation bill 1600. And the second item that we're bringing forth is to award 5 competitive grants to 5 early learning collaboratives. And I do need to make a note, on your backup, you have a board grant period from June the 30th, June the 20th, and that date needs to be changed to, the grant should end June the 30th, not June the 20th. So for the minutes, and we'll provide the updated documentation, but the contract should end, the grant should end June 30th, not June the 20th of 2025.
Do you have any questions on either of these two grant items? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve items 3A and 3B.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve items 3A and 3B.
All right, Ms. Werner, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. East? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Our next item is the consent agenda. We have items A through K. Are there any consent agenda items you'd like to ask questions about or be discussed? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion that we approve item 4, items A through K. Mr. Miller, okay, do we have a second? Mr.
Second.
Jacobs, okay. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item would be that we move into the consideration of an executive session. Do we have a motion related to that?
I move the board consider making a closed determination for the need to go into executive session.
Okay. Do we have a second for that? Mr. Miller? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Rick, get that.
The board has unanimously decided to go into executive session to discuss discrete personnel matters related to the state superintendent search process for the Department of Education and for strategy sessions or negotiations with respect to prospective litigation or issuance of a approval order.
Yeah, we appreciate your patience. That actually lasted a little longer than even we had anticipated. But during the course of the executive session, we got an update on a couple of legal issues that we're involved in, and then a report from our consultant who is conducting the superintendent search committee, superintendent search. And they gave us an update on where they are at this point. There was no action taken, though, during the executive session. Did any of you attend a meeting anywhere that you'd like to report on?
I just want to echo what Dr. Ben said. I did attend that superintendent's
Right.
meeting in Hattiesburg. I was very impressed with Dr. Benton, Dr. Vanderford, and everyone else that presented because they gave them a lot of information. I was also very impressed with the engagement of the superintendents.
Good.
They asked them hard questions, and there was actually communication going on because they had a couple issues that a couple of them are really don't like the way things are. But I appreciate
Imagine
the dialogue that's going on, to their willingness to work together to solve the problem.
Right, good. Anybody else? Any of you attending meetings out of state that you need approval for? Okay. We have one other item under other business, and that it is the approval to move the location of our meeting on November 10th from the School Board Association to the Madison County School District Boardroom. We have a meeting that day, and this room will be occupied by the School Board Association, has their board meeting that day. So we're moving across the parkway to the Madison County School District offices. Dr. McGee was very helpful in setting that up for us, and so we do need approval to do that, so.
Even though that's asking Gulfport to go visit Biloxi.
I know.
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion, second. All in favor? Any opposed? Well, that will mean that Sonia will have to be giving us lots of directions that week to remind us where we're supposed to be. The September board meeting will be held on September the 29th, 2022 in Ridgeland, in this room at the Mississippi School Board Association at 380 Zurich Drive. We will begin at 10 a.m. I have no other information. Do you have, anybody have anything else? Well, we appreciate your patience today. This meeting's run a little longer than they typically do, but I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Or y'all want to stay here?
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?